Hey everyone, I'm JD. Welcome to the channel. So today I've got 7 things that you should focus on as you are starting your sim racing journey. And those are tips that are going to help you progress the most and get you to that competitive level that you need to do some ranked online racing. Now, I don't want to pretend that I am the best sim racer out there. Very far from that. There are so many other sim racers that are way more qualified than I am to provide you with some tips and tricks. However, I feel I progressed quite a bit ever since I started 6 months ago. And those are the things that I've focused on to help me progress to that level. I am now consistently competing in the top splits in LMU and ACC, and I can get some results like fighting for podiums and even potentially wins in those splits. So I certainly did something right during those 6 months, and I'm just here today to share those with you. And if I can help even only one of you out there, I would be tremendously happy about this. So if you guys enjoy this video, if you guys benefit from anything I'm sharing with you, please just subscribe and leave a like. It's super easy to do and it would help me tremendously. Also leave a comment if you would like us to connect. That would be great as well. Now, one last thing, just stick around to the end of the video because I've got this bonus tip at the end that I feel a lot of people are not following or is often overlooked. And I do feel that this is certainly something that is crazy important to keep going in that sim racing journey. All right, guys, let's get going with the video. So, my first tip is to invest a little bit of money for a solid sim racing rig. Obviously, if you are more of a casual player and all you want to do is, race in those career mode in, offline against AI, and you just want to have a good time, you don't want to take yourself too seriously, of course, it's fine to have some of those entry level setups of the gears that you can get, like the Logitech Pro, not the Pro, the G29, things like that. Um, that's perfectly fine. But if you are actually like me and you are really looking, getting into the ranked racing, the ranked online racing that the different sim titles offer, and to get to a point where you can be competitive, then you definitely need to invest a little bit of money. You don't have to go all out and spend a ton of money like I get the most high-end rig out there, but at least getting to to the low midpoint of those solid rig would be definitely beneficial. So what you want to focus on is having a solid aluminum profile rig with a seat that is attached to it, and make sure that you get a good wheelbase and load cell pedal. These things will be the different gear that you need to invest in to get the best performance possible, and the best possibility for growing as a sim racer as well. So definitely look into that. You can spend, I would say, maybe between $1,000 to $2,000 to get something very decent, and that's in Canadian dollars. So if you are in the US or in Europe, it could be a little cheaper than that. Tip number two would be stick to one sim racing title at first. Now I know there's a ton of good sim racing titles out there. There's iRacing, there's Assetto Corsa, ACC, there's AMS2, there's Le Mans Ultimate, and so on and so forth. You have the more like Simcade titles on console as well with Gran Turismo and Forza. So yes, there's a ton of choices out there. You can try some of them, see which one you prefer. But once you find one to prefer, just stick to it and keep going. Practice in this one because all of these titles kind of have like slightly different physics, slightly different setups. The force feedback can be quite different from a title to another. So sticking to one will really allow your body and your muscle memory to familiarize yourself and get used to that specific title, and it's going to provide the best possible for improving, right? Now, the next thing, similarly to that, my tip number three, is to find the car that is right for you. So once you find your title, now next step will be to find the car that is right for you. So you're going to do this by going to a track that you know well, that you know what is a good lap time at that track. And what you're going to do is you're going to try all the different cars within a class that you intend to compete in. Like for me, for example, it's I compete in mostly in GT3s. So I went and try all the different cars, the BMW, the Ferrari, the McLaren, so on and so forth, right? You try them all, you do a bunch of lap in the same condition for each cars, and then you evaluate what were the cars you were obtaining the best lap time in, and then maybe you narrow it down to just three or four car that you try again and that you keep going. Now also ask yourself, which were the cars that I felt the most comfortable with, which are the cars that are suiting more my driving style, and most importantly, which car gives me the most confidence, because confidence is one of the most important thing in sim racing, because it plays on your mental. If you start thinking too much and you're not confident, this is going to affect your performance. When you are confident, you take out the thinking aspect of a race, and then you just rely on your physique, your muscle memory, you're becoming one with the car. You don't have to think about what you're doing, right? So that's really important as well. So stick to one car if you can, at least at first. Next step, tip number four, is to learn and practice all the basic racing techniques. And what I mean by racing techniques, there's a bunch of them out there. There's like a lot of complicated ones that you may not want to focus at first when you're a beginner sim racer, but there's at least three techniques that I feel I've focused on at first and really helped me the most. This is trail braking, the engine braking, and the short shifting. So those techniques are all about how you take a corner, right? Look them up online. I will also look at making more in-depth video about those techniques, because um, I won't take the time here to do it. But trail braking is really just to learn to apply a pressure on your brake, load cell pedal, and then gradually releasing the brake and potentially keeping a little 10% at the end on your braking pedal to just keep the nose down enough so that you get that extra turn in as you are getting towards the apex, right? So that is trail braking. Now, engine braking is more to learn like to downshift properly as you are braking. You don't want to wait until the end of your braking phase to downshift all your gears. What you want to do is to start downshifting as soon as possible, so that every time you shift down a gear, that engine throttle goes up, the RPM goes up, but it slows the car down as well with that mechanical braking of the engine, right? On top of the braking, this will really allow you to get the most performance under braking and potentially push a little later where you can brake to get the same. It's going to shorten your braking distance basically, right? So learn to do this properly. It's going to help you tremendously. Now the other technique is the short shifting technique. This one has to do more at the exit of a corner. Once you go back on the throttle, if you apply throttle completely too fast and you don't have all the traction control engaged, you will likely spin and lose the rear, right? So the thing you want to do to mitigate that is short shifting. One of the trick to short shift is to just quickly shift up, which will lower your RPM. And if you are able to do this at the right time, you will still keep a good acceleration on your throttle, but you won't risk spinning the wheel too much and lose the rear, right? So that's called short shifting. Yet there are certain corners that it's pretty useless to do this, but there are certain corners that it's very useful. So try that. When you find a corner that you are constantly losing the rear on throttle, try to just short shift. shift up a little quicker than you would normally, and it will probably help you have a better exit speed in that corner. Now that does it for the little techniques that I want you to focus on. Now the next thing is to learn to have a balanced racing style. You know, it's important to learn to have smooth control of your car. There are certain concepts out there that you want to focus on as you are a beginning in your sim racing journey, and one of those is to really learn to understand the concept of slow in, fast out, and learning to have a smooth way of driving so you don't overdrive as often. Overdriving is really waiting to brake at the last minute, having an unstable car during the corner, and then, you know, missing your apex and, compromising your exit speed because you brake too late. All of these things that are part of overdriving can really affect your lap time. So you need to learn to be a little smoother. Learn to be a little smoother while still being to the limit of the car. When I say to the limit of the car, is not to constantly being in a sliding or loss of traction state. It's really to just learn to what is the limit that I can reach in a car and still be stable. Because that stability that you get with your car is going to provide you the best lap time possible. So try to learn those things, learn the physics of the sim racing title you're playing, learn the physics of the car, learn that when you brake, it shifts the weight of the car towards the front, gives you more grip in the front tires, but maybe some understeering depending on the car. Learn the physics of uh, you know the throttle accelerating, putting the weight towards the back wheel, things like that, right? So this is definitely going to be beneficial. And also to have a more balanced driving style, I would strongly recommend you do practice some racecraft. You do that with some AI races that you're going to set up the level, how strong the AI is to be around where you are in terms of skill, so that you can have a chance to fight with them, either to do overtakes or to defend position, because learning to do this properly and cleanly is going to be really important for you to progress in online racing. So do these practice with AI, learn the proper racecraft, and it's going to be tremendously helpful for you. Now let's go with tip number 6, and it's to learn some of the car basic setups. So most titles out there have like either a fixed setup races or open setup racing. So you're going to need to learn how to set up and change some things in your car. But some of the most important things that you're going to have to learn, which you can most of the time also change in fixed setup racing, is the traction control, the ABS, and the brake bias. Learn these three things, how they affect the car, and how you can change them to maybe improve your lap time is going to be crucial. Um, Traction control is really where you apply throttle. It's going to basically limit the amount of torque your wheels are going to apply so that you don't have a chance to basically slide and lose the rear, right? So lowering those traction control can sometimes improve your lap time if you are capable of applying throttle in a way that is not going to make you lose the rear, right? So play with that, find the sweet spot for you. There's usually different traction control settings that can be found online. Look for that. This is definitely something I would recommend. The other thing is the ABS, which is basically going to prevent locking your wheels as you are braking. Learning to brake at the threshold of the ABS being applied is also going to be beneficial, because this is going to prevent the ABS from interfering too much with your braking distance while still keeping the car stable without, losing traction. So play with the ABS, find the sweet spot. Sometimes reducing it is good, sometimes it's not as good, but those are definitely things you need to look into. Now, the third setup that you want to focus on is the brake bias. Having a brake bias more at the front of the car or at the rear can have different effect. Learning those things, like when the front, when there's more braking at the front, it provides maybe a little more of a stability during braking, but it may cause some understeer, which will affect how you can turn into a corner. Whereas having the braking a little more at the back can provide a little more instability under braking, but also allow for creating a little bit of oversteer as you are braking, which may help you get to the apex with the right angle that you would want to have the proper exit speed, right? So play with this brake bias. It can also really help your lap time. And then obviously there's the more in-depth setup that you can do. I would recommend that maybe look for some professional setups that are out there. There's some that are completely free, others that you can pay. But looking at those things can definitely help your lap time. It's pretty complicated, especially as a beginner sim racer. So don't be afraid to support some of the professionals out there and buy some of their setup. It can be really helpful. Now, tip number 7 is to always practice before getting into ranked online races. I know it can be tempting to just jump into the action and, try your best right away. But if you're really, really committed to trying and improving your rank, improving your skill and whatnot, I would really recommend that you practice at least for a few laps, maybe a day or so before you get into those online races, because it's going to make your results that much more rewarding, right? You're going to get much better results. It's going to provide the best improvement in terms of your rank, and you won't risk of getting negative ranking because you weren't ready for a certain race or anything. So practicing can definitely be beneficial, and I would really recommend you do so. Now it's time for my bonus tip. So this tip is really about keeping a positive mindset. I know racing can be very frustrating. It's possible that, you're going to get slammed into, you're going to get someone that really kills your race. Things like that are going to happen. But if you keep a positive mindset, it's always going to provide you with the most growth out of a certain situation. Don't rage quit. Just keep going with the race, especially if your car is not completely broken. But if you keep going, it allows you to keep practicing, right, in some racing condition, which is definitely great. But it also going to limit how negatively impact your ranked will be. And this will be make you feel good, right? You won't lose as much, you won't be frustrated as much, and it's gonna keep like the positivity around this passion that you have, right? So just do that. Manage your expectations. You're not going to become an alien right at the start of your beginning of your sim racing journey. There's going to be a pretty steep learning curve for you to get through. It's going to be, if you follow all of these tips, you're definitely going to get really good improvement at the start. You're going to improve very fast, but you're going to reach a certain plateau at some point, right? You're not going to improve as much, but keeping this positive mindset, continuing with practicing, with doing online races, you're always going to find like incremental improvements, like slowly but surely. Like, for example, for me, when I start some daily races at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week, I usually improve within those 5, 7 days of racing at the same track with the same car. I find improvement. So there's always ways to get better at any moment. So keep that positive mindset and race hard, and it's going to be definitely a great journey that you're going to enjoy. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, again, just leave me a like, just subscribe. It doesn't take much, and it definitely helped the channel grow. And I would be also happy to connect with you guys. Just leave a comment if you want, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy. Ciao, guys.